Okay, so in this lecture we'll discuss the use of background in CSS. We can add images, colors, and videos to the background. So here are the different background properties: background color, background image, background repeat, background attachment, background position, background size. These properties are used to help with the design of the website. So let's have a look at it in VS Code. So first of all, I'll use the div tag, which is used for divisions between different sections of tags. I'll write lorem inside the div tag and save it. Then I add the style tag here, and I use a selector. So right now I'm using the element selector because I don't need more tags. However, if you want to add more tags, then we'll use the class or the ID for that. Okay. So now I'll write the background color, let's say lime green. I'll paste the link in the browser. And here you go, we have our output. Next, let's use the universal selector to reduce the margin and padding to 0. And here you go. We have it in front of us. Alright, so let's move on. So here, as you can see, I've picked an image with the name drop.jpg, so I'll write image here, I give the source, then I'll write, so alt equals pick, I save it, and here you go, we can see the image in our browser. If I want to increase the height and width of this image or adjust it, I will use the image selector to give it a width of 100 pixels and a height of 100 pixels. Alright, now if I want to adjust the width and height of the image, I'll go here, I select the image, and then I'll write the width, let's say 100%, and the height, which is 100 VH. Okay, so VH refers to viewport height, which means that it will cover the height according to the size of the screen. Okay, and as you can see in front of you, the image is covering the whole screen. Okay, so there is no place for text to be inserted in this tag. In fact, we cannot insert any text in this tag. However, if we insert the image using a background image property instead, we can assign to it some properties and insert text as well. Let me show you how it works. So I delete this part, then I use here a div tag alongside the selector in the style tag. Okay, so I can add here background dash image colon URL open brackets drop.jpg, so I save it, and as you can see, the image is not displaying in the browser since we haven't specified the width and the height. Alright, so let me fix this right now, like right away. I'll fix it. Okay, first of all I write width colon 100%, and let me tell you one more thing. So here we have like different values such as Vmax, Vmin, VW, REM. However, we mostly use PX, EM, and REM. So PX refers to pixels, which are small dots combined to form an image. For example, if I'm writing 100 pixels here, it means that we're covering 100 dots. Moreover, you can keep in mind that 1 REM is equal to 70 pixels. Now I'll write width equals 700 pixels and height equals 300 pixels. Then I go to my browser and check the output, and as you can see, the height is fixed. Okay, then I make this window smaller, and as you can see in front of you, we have a scroll bar that appeared, which means that the website is not responsive. So what is a non-responsive website? What is a non-responsive website? In simple terms, a non-responsive website often fails to translate content efficiently from one device to another. So it fails to, display content for us in an efficient manner across devices, across different devices. So it could totally be messed up, for example, on a smartphone, but it could show correctly on your browser, on your computer, on the browser of your computer. For example, it shows in a correct manner. It displays the website in a correct manner. But if you try to open the website on your smartphone, for example, it could be totally messed up. And that's what we call a non-responsive website, because it doesn't adapt to different devices and screens. All right, so next I'll change the width and give a percentage to it. Let's say 100%, and the height will be 100 VH. So you can also write VW. Can you clearly see what I'm doing now? So the image has some fixed dimensions. However, I specified that width, like 100%. So if there is too much space left, the picture will repeat itself until it fills out all the available space. So when it repeats itself like this, it will cover 100% of the space available for the width. When it comes to the height, we fixed it to 100 VH. Okay, so now if I want to control this repetition process, I can use a property known as background dash repeat. So I'll write here background repeat, no repeat. When you use this option, the picture will not repeat. Next, I write background repeat X, and here you go. We controlled the repetition process by making the image repeat only alongside the x-axis, like it only repeats along the x-axis. In a similar manner, if I write repeat Y, the image will repeat along the y-axis. Okay, so this is not that useful actually, so we need the no repeat. I'll use no repeat, and here you go. As you can see, it's been fixed here. Now it's 100%, and this is responsive as well. So now, as you can see, the scroll bar is not appearing. This has taken 100%, but it's not fitting on my screen, which means that it's not appearing like 100%, but it is responsive as we are making it smaller. So the scroll bar is not appearing. Like if we make it smaller, we don't have any scroll bar, which means that it's responding to different screen sizes. Okay, so now we want to fit in, we want to fit it in on the whole screen. So for that, to do it, we'll write background size, and it will be covered. It will be background size, and we'll put cover here. So these are two properties. One is covered and the other is contained. Contain is for blog posts, and cover is used when you have to fix an image on the whole website. Okay, so now I refresh it, and as you can see, the image quality has been little damaged, and it's a little zoomed in as well. So I want to increase its width and height, but the size should remain like this by default. So to do that, we use the property of background dash position, which means what should be its position, we're indicating the position. Okay, so we have two properties in the background position. Center. Okay, first center is the first one, the first center is defining the x-axis, and the second center is defining the y-axis. So you can write top, left, right, or anything. Okay, but I want to have an image in the center of the y and x-axis, so I write center, and my image is responsive as well. So what is the role of background position? Let's see. Now I'll comment on it, so I'll comment it. And as you can see, when I decrease the size of my image, so the image is cut out in half because I didn't specify its position. So now I'm specifying its position, and as you can see, our image is in the center and is fixed to the screen. So you can change it as well. I'm doing top and center. It means that the x-axis should be on top and the y-axis should be in the center. So now, as you can see, you can use anything here. I'm using the right. I save it, and now as you can see, it's the same. So you can check this by using different properties. Okay. Now let's talk about background attachment. So it usually has two properties, scroll and fixed. Whenever we use the fixed property, the image displayed on the website is fixed and does not change its place if we scroll. Okay, so now I'll use the p tag and write 1000 words in the lorem. Okay, so now let me go to the body. I'll add here some p tags and I write 1000 words inside these tags. So basically I just have to write lorem 1000 and I'll save it. Let's check the results, and here you go. Take a look at this. Now as I'm scrolling down, the image is displaying on the screen, but I haven't used the fixed property yet. So I'll go back and write background attachment fixed. I'll save it and you can see the results. Now, one last thing is that we can also add text to the background image. So first I'll write H1 here, then I write hello, this is the background. I save it, I check the result in the browser, and here we go. We have our output. We'll also learn about alignment later in the lesson. Alright folks, so that's pretty much it for this lecture. I hope that all the background properties are now super clear to you. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for now. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, let's now talk about CSS borders. So borders are usually used to specify the area around elements. In HTML, as we saw previously, it's possible to give colors to borders. However, in CSS, we can specify the width, height, and style of the border using different properties like dotted, dashed, solid, and so on. The most used border style is solid. All the others are just used for additional designs. They are not that common. So depending on the user's taste, they can choose any border they want, basically. Alright, let me show you how the different borders look like. The dotted border looks like this. The double border has double lines and the others have different designs. The mixed border mixes all border types, dotted, dashed, solid, and double. Okay, so here is the border property shortcut that you should use. First, we have to specify the width, then the style, and lastly, the color. So let's have a practical look at it in VS Code. Okay, so here I've used the universal selector because we need to remove the margin and the padding. As you can see, I gave a value of 0 to the margin and a value of 0 to the padding. Alright, so I then use the h1 tag in the body here and write hello world. And I save the file. So after that, I'll go here inside the style tag and I'll select the H1. I write color, green, yellow, background color, hot pink. I'll save it. I check the result in the browser. Now I'll specify the border. The border has three properties. The first one is width. Next we have style. Then we have color. So I'll write border 2 pixels, solid red. I'll save it. And here you go. You can see the border. Okay, so now I'll increase its width to 20 pixels and you can see the results. If you want to specify the border from one side, you can do it with some border properties. So here, for example, I'm writing border left 20 pixels, solid, green, yellow. I copy this 3 times so that I can specify the border from all the sides. Then I can change the side and the colors. So I save it and here you go. You can see the output. Now, keep in mind that the border width should range from 1 to 3 pixels, otherwise it won't look good. Now, I command these properties, I uncomment this one, and it's basically the original border that we had. So we'll use a different style. I'll write border 20 pixels, dotted red, I save it, and here you go, we have our dotted border. So this is not looking good. I'll change the style to groove, and yeah, this is slightly better now. Alright, so we can also use the double style, and as you can see we now have a double line border. So I'll change the width to 10 pixels and notice the difference. It's much thinner now. It's much thinner now. Alright, so we learned about the different border styles, and I hope that by now everything is super clear to you. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this lecture, and now on to the next one. Alright, so let's now talk about the CSS outline. So the outline works exactly like the border, but we can't combine them. So we can either use the properties of border or the properties of outline. The properties of outline and border are similar. So the major difference is that the outline is usually drawn outside the border. Let's have a look at them in VS Code. So here I have the code that we used previously. I'll just replace the border property with the outline one. I save it. We check the result in the browser, and here you go. We have our outline. So now I'll adjust the margin and write margin top 10 pixels. I refresh the page, and here you go. We have our output. If you want to give some space between the text, you can use the outline for that. So other than that, all the properties are the same. Okay, so here we are using this solid, so it will appear like this, as you can see it. Before I used to use the double, so I used it as double. That's why it's showing the double lines. All right, so now I have I'm using like the solid, so it's covering all the area, and basically yeah, like that's how these properties work. So outline and border are similar, but the only difference is the space. All right, and now on to the next lecture. All right, so let's now move on to another very important topic, the height and the width. So these properties are used to specify the height and the width of an element. However, with CSS, we can easily change the width and the height. They are easily customizable. Alright, so we have the min and the max properties, which are used to specify the min and max height and the min and max width. So let's have a practical look at these concepts in VS Code. So here I have an H1 element. I've written lorem with 10 words. I've given it a color and a background color to it. If I don't do anything, it will take up 100% of the width as well as the default height. So now if I want to add some customizations, I can specify it here and write, for example, height 500 pixels, width 1200 pixels, and take a look at the result. So basically the width covers 1200 pixels and the height covers 500 pixels. So now when I minimize the size of the window, we can see that the scroll bar appears here. In fact, this shows us that the website is not responsive. So you can press F12 to check that. Alright, so let me now just focus on the width. So you'll write min height as 500 pixels and then max width as 1200 pixels, and I refresh the page. Okay, sorry, I have specified it as a height, so I'll write width here instead, and the results are right in front of us, as you can see. Alright, so now as I'm reducing the screen size, the height and the width are adjusting automatically. So yeah, basically that's the purpose. It's that we don't have to use the width and the height again and again in media queries. So yeah, by using minimum and maximum height, we can display anything on our website like this. So here we go, see my width and height are getting displayed automatically because I've told it about the maximum and minimum. So if I remove the minimum from here, my website will be the same as it was before, because I've specified the maximum. So if I do minimum here, then the minimum will be like the following. So it will also be like this. All right, so it's also showing the scroll bar because I have specified a minimum of 500 pixels, so it will not go down from the 500 pixels, and that's why it has become unresponsive. Okay, so if I write 100 pixels here and put minimum and maximum of 12,000, so it's not showing me the scroll bar, that means that my website is responsive. Okay, so let's move on to the height now. So here I'll write the min height as 300 pixels, and you can see the result. The height of the background colors automatically adjusts to 300 pixels. Okay, so now when I increase the content, you can see that the height of the content adjusts itself automatically. So what you have to keep in mind here is that the height of the background color will fluctuate between the minimum height and the maximum height. Alright, let me show you something. So if I specify the max height as 400 pixels, you can see that the content is overlapping. The background color reached the maximum value for the height, and since we have more text than this, the text will go over the limit of the colored background. So now again, if I reduce the length of the content I have, it will look like this. Alright folks, so this is the main purpose of the min and max properties. So let's move on to the next lecture. Alright, so we talked about margins and padding before, and about the fact that we use the universal selector to remove them from the website. Let's now discuss them in detail. So the margin refers to the space around the element's border, and the only difference between margin and padding is that padding is the inside area while margin is the outside area. Let's have a look at an example. You can see that a box is drawn here, so this inner part is the content. The area covering the content is called padding. Then we have the border, and lastly the area covering the border is the margin. So margin and padding are mostly used to set the position of the text. The margin has 4 properties: margin top, right, bottom, and left. And the same goes for the padding. So let's have a practical look at it in VS Code. Okay, so as you can see, we've set the margin and the padding values to 0. Then I'll use the p tag and write lorem in it. After that, I'll use the selector in order to select and style my p element. I specify the color, gray background color, hot pink. Then I write border 2 pixels, solid, yellow. I go to my browser to check the output, and here you go. You can see the result. Okay, so let me now use the h3 tag to increase the size of the content. Here I will change the selector. So now let me show you like the use of margin and padding. Okay, so here I'll write padding 30 pixels. Okay, don't forget the padding will be applied from the top, bottom left, and right, unless you specify the area. If we check the output, we can clearly see that the padding was applied to all 4 sides. Now if I specify the area like padding left and increase the size to 50 pixels, you can see the padding is only applied to the left side. So now if I increase it more, let's say 200 pixels, the padding will also increase. Alright, so let me do the same thing now with the padding right property. And here we go, you can see the output. So instead of doing it one by one, like left, then right, then again for the other sides, you can simply use the padding property and it will be applied on all sides. However, if you give it just one value, it will be the same for all sides. Okay, so now, if you want different values, you can also do it in a more concise manner. I'll write padding and give different values to the top, bottom, left, and right properties, like 100 pixels from the top and 20 pixels from the right and left. And that's pretty much it. So we'll get the same result as if we did it manually and typed the 4 properties one by one. So yeah, it's much faster like this. Okay, all right, so we talked about the padding, like we talked a lot about the padding. Let's now move on and see what the margin is about. Okay, so I'll copy paste this and change the property name to margin instead of padding. I have taken the exact values from the top, right, and left, and here you go. We have our output. Now I'll change the left and right values and I'll write 0. So here you go. Take a look at this. We no longer have a margin on the left and right side. Now, if I change the top value to 0 as well, you can see the result. So, as you may have noticed already, margin and padding are used to set the positioning at the beginner level. Alright, so now I'll use the h1 tag and write hello to everyone. Now, if I wanna do, use this text to move to my desired position, I can use the margin property to do that. Here I'm selecting the h1 tag, then I give values to the margin, 300 pixels from the top and 200 pixels from the left. And here is the output, as you can see in front of you. So now if I increase the left side to 500 pixels, and here you go, you can see the result. Then to 600 pixels, and you can see the result. Then to 700 pixels, and here you go, we have the result. Alright, now the issue is when I'm minimizing the screen, there is a scroll bar that appears here, as you can see. So we cannot use these properties much often, since the website is not responsive and doesn't adjust automatically to our Windows size. Alright, I hope that you understood this concept of margin and padding, and that everything is clear to you now. Alright, so let's move on to the next lecture.